You have fire in your gut? Okay, we're here for a reason to win games. So if you didn't have that fire in your gut, you better light the fire pretty fast.
And welcome back to the latest greatest episode of the Shaving Points podcast. My name is Jayden May, joined as always by my co-host Quentin Crisco, and football's back.
Football's back. Let's get
sir. So we're gonna go over some futures, division winners, some college football, a little bit of everything.
That's right, and we're starting off with NFL. And Jay, how do you want to start this off? You just want to go division by division and talk our winners and who we see making the playoffs. If you guys missed it, we went through every single team, gave our win predictions for them, and you can find it all on our YouTube page or wherever you're finding the podcast. You can find all the details, like 20 minutes to an hour for each team. So go check it out. But Jay, how do you want to start this?
We're gonna start up by divisions and talk about division winners and real quick and who our 4 division winners are for each conference, and then get into a little bit of futures, then go into some college football.
Okay, sounds good. So where do you want to start at? You want to start with the North?
Which side?
Both
sides?
Yeah, let's go AFC then NFC.
Yeah, so for
North.
For the AFC, I have the Bengals coming in as the 2 seed for the AFC and winning that division at plus 160. I think the Bengals are a talented team. Healthy Joe Burrow. And I also have the Ravens making the playoffs as the 6th seed in that division. So I think I got the Bengals somewhere around 12 wins this year. Really like their schedule. Yeah, a lot to like about the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, we're eye to eye on that. I mean, I think it looks like you have the Bengals at 11. I just pulled it up here, but 2 seed either way. I've got them as the 1 seed, and we're on an island here. Everyone has the Ravens winning this division. Everyone thinks the Bengals are in a really rough spot, apparently, because of the Jamar Chase contract, because of he hasn't practiced yet this year, and because of Joe Burrow's wrist and the speculation around that, and because they lost DJ Reader, and I'm not buying it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think a healthy Joe Burrow and everything else on the offense. A lot of people were talking about the running back that went to Houston.
Oh, Mixon. Yeah, I mean, I think Chase
Mixon,
Brown is a good spot.
Yeah, and Zach Moss, I mean, he's more than serviceable. And a healthy Joe Burrow has been a dominant quarterback in this league. I mean, I feel like he's getting kind of written off due to past injuries. Yeah, I love the Bengals in this division.
So the thing that I keep thinking when I'm seeing people talking about their AFC North winners and they keep coming to the Ravens, the thing that I'm not sure is happening, I'm not sure they're looking at the schedule. Because
I'm not sure looking at the schedule, and everybody just assumes Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry, and they're going to run for 2,300 yards on that offense between Derrick Henry and Lamar. I hope it happens. I love Derrick Henry. I love Tractorcito, but he's getting old, and they let all their running backs go. I mean, it's the Derrick Henry show there, where they've been a committee of running backs for the past 6 years. It's the Derrick Henry show, and I'm not sure how much I'm willing to put my eggs in a basket for a aging Derrick Henry. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the Ravens. I think I have them at 10 wins.
Yeah, you got them at 10.
So it's not like I hate the Ravens by any means. I just think the Bengals are going to be a little bit better. They got a little bit easier to schedule. Will they have a 3rd place schedule coming off last year, or do they have the 4th place schedule?
I think 4th place. Yeah, because they were Steelers made the playoffs, Browns made the playoffs, Ravens made the playoffs, Bengals were in last place. According to Vegas, they have the 6th easiest schedule in the NFL, and by traditional strength of schedule, the Bengals have the 4th easiest schedule in the NFL. No one else in this division is lower than 24th.
Yeah.
Either strength of schedule ranking.
And the
three
only
of
thing
the
holding up,
hardest 4 schedules in the league by Vegas are in this division, and it's not held by the Bengals. Like they have such a huge advantage with their schedule this year.
yeah, and like I said, a healthy Joe Burrow has been dominant.
Yeah. So I got the Bengals at 13 wins. And if you're questioning that, look at their schedule. They have 7 non-division games that they should win. Like
Yeah,
not just not games that they can win, games that they should win when I counted it up. And then I've got the Ravens in the 6th seed with you in that wild card spot, also taking or going in at 11-6. I've got them at the 6th seed. I think the AFC is a gauntlet this year.
it really is. AFC is so tough to judge because after my division winners, the next 3 in, I have Jets, Ravens, Dolphins, and it could be any combination of another 4 teams.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 10-win AFC team not making the playoffs.
Yeah. And then in the NFC North, I have the Chicago Bears winning the division at plus 275, being the 2 seed in the NFC. And I'm also hammering their over 10.5 wins at plus 250, 2.5 to 1 over 10.5 wins. You look at that offense. I like what they've done on the offensive line, bringing in a running back as well. Also, like the running backs they already have on the roster, best receiving core in the NFL, good tight end, the best defensive back room in the NFL. Tough division, but over 10.5 wins and winning the North. I'm winning the North at plus 300, over 10.5 at plus 250. Love both of those. I love this Bears team. I've been high on Caleb Williams ever since he was at Oklahoma. I love this Bears team.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you love this Bears team. I love them too. I have the Bears in the 7 seed with 10 wins, but I have the Lions winning this division. I just think
I'd
they're
Lions of my 5 seed winning 11 games.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if you're not winning the division, you can't be higher than a 5 seed. So the 5 seed is kind of that special spot where you get the division
Yeah.
winner or the guy who didn't win the division but still won a lot of games.
Yeah, I really like the Lions. I'm high on Lions. I love the Bears schedule. I love how everything breaks for them. I love Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
11 wins for the Lions. Good season. And you get to go play the Falcons and Kirk Cousins in the first round of the playoffs and go from there.
That's right. For me, I mean, for me as the 5 seed, you'd be playing the Falcons in Atlanta. Good to know we're on the same page there. But so I've got the Lions winning this division just because of what they have, or winning the division and they're my 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah.
I just think
I have them as my 2 seed.
Yeah, I
Or
think
the Bears is my 2 seed.
the Lions, I think, have built those trenches so well that they have questions at wide receiver. If Amon-Ra St. Brown goes down, they're gonna lose some games in there. But
Yeah.
I think they're gonna fare better than some other teams just because of
What if
how
Jameson
dominant
Williams
their
is just
trenches
good?
are. And I'm not buying that at this point. I mean, maybe he'll be serviceable. Maybe he'll be fine. Like 800 yards, maybe fine. Like,
What a heartbreaking scenario. I mean, they've drafted so well for the past 3-4 years. You get a high pick. Amon-Ra really hasn't broken out yet, and you're like, oh man, we like what we see. Go get Jameson Williams.
yeah, no, I
And
mean,
not hit.
it sucks for them, man. It's brutal.
Because
But
that's like their biggest position in need right now.
yeah, I mean, he might still be serviceable. I mean,
He's
I think there's
fast.
still stuff there to work with, but
He hasn't been healthy,
if
and when he
Amon
was
Ra
healthy,
goes
he was
down,
suspended.
there are concerns about that receiving core. But at the end of the day,
They can
I'm
run
not
the
sure
football,
many
and they have a
teams
good
can
tight end.
stop them from running the football, and they're going to be
Yep.
able to generate passing offense off of that alone. Like I could be at receiver, and they could generate something, you know.
Yeah, and they have a great tight end too, which always
Yeah.
helps.
So ultimately, they're my 1 seed, and then I have 3 teams in the North making the playoffs. I have the Packers at the 6th seed with the same record as the Bears, 10 wins. I just did tiebreakers based off strength of schedule here because I think I had them splitting in season, so it was just strength of schedule was the next tiebreaker. So Packers are in the 6th seed. They will.
I didn't get into tiebreakers. If they had the same record, I just went with my gut. So
yeah, I mean that's probably the safer bet. But it's either way, it's right there. They're all.
absolutely.
I mean, sometimes the tiebreakers don't work the right way either.
Yeah. No, but yeah, Bears are probably my favorite team this year. I think 10.5 wins is criminal. So
it was 9.5 when we talked about them.
yeah, and I still love 10.5 at plus 250. So
okay, I've got them at 10 wins, but hey, I've been hurt. I'm flawed when I'm talking Bears. I've been hurt too many times.
Caleb Williams is so good though. All right, you want to go to the East?
Sure, let's kick off the AFC East here.
So AFC East, I have the Bills and the Jets both winning 11 games. Originally I had the Jets winning the division. I changed it up right before we came on the pod. I think Josh Allen finds a way to get it done. I think they lose some games they shouldn't lose, but they win the games that they should, and that's ultimately going to be the tiebreaker wins for them. So I have the Bills at the 3 seed in the AFC at 11 wins with the Jets in the 5 seed. And then the Dolphins. I think I have the Dolphins at 10 wins, being the 7 seed there.
You and me, we're eye to eye on this stuff. I mean, I got the Bills winning the AFC East, tied with the same record as the Jets, winning the tiebreaker there. Jets take the. I think I have them both at 11 wins. Jets are in the 5 seed, that first wild card spot for me. And then the Dolphins are sitting in the 7 seed with 10 wins for me. I think it's another three-team division.
I have Dolphins. I have Dolphins at 7 or the 10 wins as well, I believe. So yeah, AFC is going to be a gauntlet.
AFC East is the murkiest division in football. Like it could go any of a million ways, and I can't figure out which one. For a long time, I had all 3 teams with the same record who I have making the playoffs here.
Yeah. So moving on to the NFC, I have the Cowboys winning the East, being the 3 seed in the NFC. I think I have them 11 wins. They've won 12 the last 3 years with a healthy Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy. Got them 11 wins this year with the Eagles at 10 wins. Eagles being that 7 seed in the NFC. Cowboys being the 3 seed. Cowboys hosting the Rams in the first round of the playoffs. And Cowboys at plus 185 to win that division. I want to like the Eagles. We haven't had a repeat winner in the NFC East in, I think, like 17 years, something like that. But Kellen Moore really, really bothers me. And yeah, that's my biggest concern is Kellen Moore. And if Kellen Moore does his normal Kellen Moore stuff, I just don't know if their head coach can really make up that difference when he doesn't have elite coordinators. What's his name? Let's call him Shane Steichen, but he's not Shane Steichen. Who's their coach? Yeah, head coach of Philly.
Nick Sirianni.
Nick Sirianni. Yeah, I just don't have faith in Nick Sirianni to right the ship without elite coordinators, and I do not think Kellen Moore is an elite coordinator.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, how much faith do you have in Big Dom?
Big Dom is like he'd probably be my number 1 pick if I'm like going out with the boys.
Yeah, he's a coach now.
Technically, he got the title. No, love
the
Big
vibes
Dom.
are all messed up for the Eagles. Like the vibes are like scary. But
and then Vic Fangio paired with Kellen Moore. I love Vic Fangio, but I feel like an offense and a defense kind of have to mesh for a team, and I don't feel like either one of them run a complementary style of play to their counterpart.
Yeah,
because Kellen Moore can force a lot. Like Kellen Moore can get himself into a situation where he goes 3 and out, 3 drives in a row, and that's not very advantageous for a Vic Fangio defense.
but Vic might be fairly used to it by now.
He could be, but
Between Chicago and Denver,
yeah,
he's seen it.
yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, and then losing Jason Kelsey, I think losing the center is probably more impactful than people want to talk about. Being the center, obviously the centerpiece of a team.
First
Um,
ever,
yeah, and then
the original center.
yeah, and then Lane Johnson's getting older. So yeah, I mean, I don't hate the Eagles. I think they're going to be fine, but they looked so bad down the stretch last year, and I don't think bringing in Kellen Moore really does a whole lot for them. And Saquon is, I don't know what Saquon is being in that Giants offense for the past 4 years.
I think he's gonna kick ass.
I think he is too,
Yeah.
but Kellen Moore could also shit the bed, and he couldn't. Like,
No, Kellen Moore absolutely could. And so I have similar concerns about the Eagles, but for the sake of argument, I'm gonna take opinions about who Kellen Moore is, or not who he is, but about Kellen Moore's past issues out of the picture here in my conversation right now. And I'm just gonna say my concern is still there because I look at this and I see an offense that had a lot of success with a pared down scheme saying we don't need a big playbook because we run these plays perfectly, we execute perfectly out of any look that we can give you, any formation, any alignment, we can beat you with this fewer amount of plays. Plus, the quarterback didn't have to call protections. Jason Kelsey did the protections. Sometimes Jalen Hurts would call the protections, and Jason Kelsey would say, LOL, he's wrong, do this. You know, like that stuff does matter. There were certain little advantages that Kelsey gave you with the way that he got quick snaps out. It stole plays for them sometimes. Like,
yeah,
there were a lot of instances
they
where
got a lot of not, you know, they were put in a lot of advantageous situations with Kelsey knowing the flow of the game.
yeah,
Like you said, getting a quick snap out when the defense wasn't quite set yet, and just knowing the game of football and being able to recognize certain situations. Not saying that Jalen Hurts can't do that, but I've never been of the opinion that Jalen Hurts is really a top guy in the NFL. So he'll have to prove it this year. And in college, he was kind of up and down, and he's been kind of up and down in the pros. Are they still as successful at the tush push? I mean, because I mean that's kind of a cohesive unit. So I mean, I think they're going to be fine at that still.
yeah, probably not
But
quite as dominant, but like the Bears had no issues doing the tush push all year last year. Like
yeah,
they did it pretty consistently, and they had Lucas Patrick playing center. You know, like I
yeah.
think they'll be okay on the tush
And
push.
Jalen Hurts is a freak athlete, really, really strong. So I mean,
Yeah,
I think he'll be successful at that. I mean, Tom Brady had success at that for 20 years, and
Mhm.
for some reason, it only gets talked about because the Eagles do it more. But I mean, Tom
'Cause it's
Brady
got a
was
catchy
like
phrase.
90. Tom Brady was like 98% on like
Yeah,
fourth, like or like on something to one, like second and one, third to one, fourth to one,
yeah,
whatever it was, like on getting 1 or 2 yards when he needed it. Like
yeah.
so,
Now to bring this back to where I was starting, though,
we talking Dak Prescott
Kellen Moore's playbook. Kellen Moore wants to do a lot. He wants to do a
a
lot in a
lot.
true drop back offense that puts weight on the quarterback. Now,
I think
obviously, that's a partnership. They're going to work together on finding what works, what doesn't, throwing things out, keeping things. But how much I just can't help but wonder how much is in Kellen Moore's nature to want to do more than maybe they're able to, and what are the impacts of that? And that's
Kellen Moore is like your friend in college who has like severe ADHD that like every single day is like starting a new business, and sometimes he's really successful and sometimes he's not, but he's the guy that wakes you up at like 7 a.m. with like the beady eyes being like, I figured it out. We're gonna be millionaires.
I mean, that's
Like
me
j-
sometimes.
yeah. But it's like he just does too much
Yeah.
when
No. Well, and that's what I was trying to say at the start. I wasn't pulling it into to take a bit like if you take that out, I still think there are concerns around the partnership there and just
yeah.
the way that they tend to go about things. But all that being said, I look at the NFC East. I've got the Eagles winning 10 games. We've got the Cowboys winning 10 games. No one wins that
No
division
repeat
2 years in a
yeah, no
row.
repeat
Give me the
winners.
Eagles on the division and the Cowboys on the wild card in the 6th seed.
My argument is
Or
if
5
you have
seed.
them both at 10, Cowboys have won 12 games 3 years in a row with this administration, and
Wait,
I would say
is
I would
3 more than 23? Because no one's won that division 2 years in a row for like
no,
23 years.
I'm saying they won 12 games in a row. That's 2 more games than 10. And I would argue that this is the best Cowboys team in the past 5 years. And this might be the last hope for this Cowboys regime under with Dak Prescott under center. So
Yeah, I'm just going with the 23 years.
yeah, no, yeah. Like I said, my argument was if you have them both at 10, Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott win more than 10. But yeah, 23 years.
I've got him at 10. We'll see.
Yeah, so I have the Eagles facing the Bears at Soldier Field in the first round of the playoffs.
First round of the playoffs, I've got the Eagles taking on the Packers in Philly.
I hate that for both of us. I hate both
Yeah,
of our picks.
it's a lot of green.
All right. Going on to the South divisions now.
Yeah.
I have the 1 seed Texans dominating. I love their schedule. I love this team. I love what they did in the offseason. I mean, we've been on the CJ Stroud train for a while now. I have them at 12 wins, and I think they got better. I think bringing in Joe Mixon is nice. I like the Stephon Diggs addition. A healthy Tank Dell as your 3 is incredible. Dalton Schultz has been fantastic. That offensive line is finally getting healthy. I think they could potentially be a top 5 offensive line in the league. CJ Stroud can sling it all over the football field. Their defense looked good last year. They went out and got Danielle Hunter, somebody else that can rush the passer, opposite of their rookie of the year, whose name is Will Anderson. And who is the corner they took that everybody got mad that they took because
Derek
Sauce was on
Stingley
the board?
Jr.
He's playing really well too. I mean, he's not Sauce Gardner, but he absolutely has in no way been a miss. I love this
And
Texans team. I
across
love
from
their
him,
schedule.
they got number 2 overall pick Jeff Okudah.
Yeah, legend himself. But
I
yeah,
assume I'm not sure if he's actually starting or not. I should fact check that, but
I do not think he is starting. But they did sign Jeff Okudah, and lucky for them, there's not a whole lot of receivers in that division. I mean, Brian Thomas could break out, but I'm not scared about any of the Jags receivers. I'm not scared. Like Michael Pittman's fine, but Derek Stingley can handle him. And then the Titans have a bunch of guys that were good one time.
yeah, if the Titans stay healthy and Will Levis is manageable, maybe there's something there. But
I think the Titans might be. Titans are like the biggest wild card in the league. Like in a perfect world, the Titans could win like 13 games, but
yeah,
I could also see them having like a top 5 pick.
which Titans fans probably always believe that they can do that because they have had more like
Well, they've had Vrabel.
12+ win seasons out of utterly nowhere than any team I can think of.
I think losing Vrabel hurts them a lot, and
well, even before that, like McNair's first year there, it was just like, boom, Titans are awesome. Win 10 games in a row. Like, and then
Yeah.
there was the year with Kerry Collins at quarterback, like way back when they had
Well, then Jeff Fisher just went like 9-7, 8-8 with them for like 3 years in a row, 4 years in a
yeah.
row when they had no business being that good. But yeah, I mean, Titans might be the most interesting team in the AFC as far as like because I feel like they're trying really hard to have a good like to put everything together. Like they've made some really aggressive moves. And then you look at the team and you're like, I don't hate it if I'm a fan. I'm like,
Yeah.
go do everything you can. I mean, and
Like
just hope Will
I
Levis
want
isn't
to
bad.
believe they're going to be competitive. I have them at 6 wins, but I look at their roster and I'm like, there's talent. Like they've added a lot of real talent to that roster. I just
I
don't
have them
know
at
how
4.
it all fits together.
I have them at 4 wins. I wouldn't be surprised if they won 12. But I think realistically, I mean, a lot of their top end talent is old. I don't have faith in
Mhm.
Will Levis.
I mean,
They
Hopkins
lost.
might miss the first few games.
Yeah, and they lost their coach. I have no faith at all in Tony Pollard. I do not know how he got that contract there. I wouldn't be surprised if who's that second year, third year running back they have there?
Tajay Spears.
Tajay Spears ends up being the primary running back in that offense. I like Chiggy Okonkwo. Is that his Okonkwo?
Yeah,
Is that his name?
Chiggy Okonkwo.
I like him a lot. But yeah, I mean, Calvin Ridley didn't really impress me with a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence. I just don't see him
So that's a
breaking out.
weird thing, though. There are moments in his tape in Jacksonville where you're like, oh shit, this guy's still really good.
Yeah.
But a lot of his issues there, I think, came down to usage and the way that Doug Peterson was using him just didn't fit his skill set very well.
But that also falls back into like, are we trusting Will Levis?
Yeah, no, I mean, I trust Brian Callahan to
Yeah.
use because he like Doug Peterson, I believe, was trying to use him as an outside X receiver, isolated, needing to win, basically needing to be the guy out there, and that's not his game. Like
Yeah.
that's not what he's best at. He's best when D Hop can be the guy out there, and he can be the secondary guy, being able to get in the slot, being able to do more stuff with on a double wide receiver trip side and work out of that because he doesn't have that breakaway speed. He's not the most physical, but he's a route winner. His route running is really strong.
So yeah. So talk about the Titans a little bit. We both have the Jaguars winning 9 games. Are we writing off the Jaguars?
No, I mean, here's my thing with the Jaguars. They lack blue chippers.
Yeah.
There's no blue chipper on their roster unless you count Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And
I love Trevor Lawrence.
I just think to be a difference makers in this league, to be teams that are really winning double digit games, you need at least one other blue chipper outside the quarterback. And they just don't have. Maybe Josh Allen Hines is up there. I think of him as a red chipper, but maybe he squeezes into that blue chip range. But even still, I just need some better weapons there. I need a little more. Brian Thomas Jr. Maybe he'll have a great rookie year.
I like Brian Thomas Jr.'s ADP in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's potential there, but I'm not sure I'm expecting him to blow up on the scene year one.
Yeah.
And Christian Kirk he's nice, but it's just everything feels very average to above average on their entire roster.
Feels very mid. They haven't won in 9 games.
Yeah. I think Trevor Lawrence is a lot of the reason why they win 9.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have anything to say about the Colts?
It's all Anthony Richardson, man.
Yeah.
Like this team, I think, has one of the widest ranges of outcomes. Like, I could see them struggling to not struggling, but being like a 7 to 9 win team, similar to where they were last year, if Richardson isn't doing well. and it's really the coaching and some of the talent on that roster carrying them forward. But if Richardson can be something worth starting in this league, and there's real reason to think he can, there's also real reason to be skeptical. But if he can do that, they could easily be in the playoff conversation, even in the division conversation here.
Yeah.
It's just
I have them at 10 wins, missing the playoffs.
yeah, I think
So,
I have them
they're
at 9
right
if I
there.
remember right. Like,
I think they're going to be right there in the mix. I don't know how I feel about a full season of Anthony Richardson. He looked okay, but he's got to. We got to see him throw the ball well, not just the rushing ability.
well, let me ask you this:
Jonathan Taylor has to be Jonathan Taylor.
yeah, and if Anthony Richardson is a decent running threat, Jonathan Taylor's gonna go off.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is one of the biggest question marks I have in this division because he had the contract issues, and then we haven't really seen him explode like he exploded 3 years ago. I think Anthony Richardson can definitely open that up for him, but he's getting paid a lot of money to run the rock and be dominant, and if he's not, I feel like that can really hurt him because I love Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman is not a one receiver on a team that's going to make a playoff run without a good running game.
Yeah, but here's what I do like in their wide receiver room, though. They've got a lot of above average. Like, they have Pittman, they have Josh Downs, who's coming off a really strong rookie year. I like A.D. Mitchell a lot. I know he's a controversial player. And then when your wide receiver 4 is Alec Pierce, I think you're in a really good spot.
You're not in a bad spot.
Your depth with the talent that you can spread across the field.
Yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor just has to be effective. Like,
yeah,
that is the key to their offense, because if they can open up those running lanes with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson's not having to take the hits, because Anthony Richardson can do it, but then you're also relying on him when he's not running the football to be an elite passer.
Let me ask you this. How do you feel about 12 games of Anthony Richardson in 5 games of Joe Flacco?
Super Bowl winner.
I mean, it's elite. That's
elite
if I've ever seen it.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I love the Texans in this division. I think Texas are gonna win. I think I have them winning all their division games.
Yeah. I've got Texans as my 2 seed. I do have some questions about their defensive tackle room. They kind of redid that. I mean, I think Danielle Hunter at defensive end is a bigger upgrade than people are talking about from Jonathan Grenard. Yeah. Like, Grenard was good. I think Danielle Hunter is very good.
And I think D'Amico Ryans is a hell of a coach.
Yeah. And they got Kamari Lassiter's the other outside corner, the rookie out of Georgia. I looked it up as we were discussing. But there's a lot to like on that Texans team. That, like you said, that O-line has some blue chip talent on it.
Yeah.
And they have an offensive coordinator who is very offensive line friendly and makes their life fairly easy. I think their running game is going to be a lot better this year with Joe Mixon there with a little better health in that O-line. And I'm really interested to see how their offense looks truly. I want to see what Bobby Slowick has for year 2.
Yeah. And then moving on to the NFC South. I was a little bit lower on the Falcons whenever we did our preseason predictions and everything. But the more I look at this team, I think Kirk Cousins is about to have the best season of his career. I have them at my 4 seed right now. I think they could probably win a couple more games that I didn't give them credit for. I'm not as high on Bijan as everybody else is, but I think the rest of the talent with Darnell Mooney, with Drake London, with Kyle Pitts, I think this offense can be explosive, and I love what they're doing on defense. They're going out and making moves. They're really going all in on this roster, which is we've gone back to it like 6 different times, but the fact that they took Michael Penix is just outrageous. But I feel like they've almost made up for it with some of the moves they've made and going out and getting people
in the draft. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. They could have had a defender in the draft, but can you repeat that? I ruined what you were saying.
No, yeah, I was saying, like, as ridiculous as that was, like, they've gone out and they've made like a cognitive effort to go get better, and they're really kind of buying in all into this window. Which, if Kirk Cousins goes down and Michael Penix comes in and plays great, they're gonna look like that front office. Everybody's gonna be like, oh, so you still went and you went out and got Matthew Judon, who's playing well for you. You went out and got a DB. You went out and got a linebacker, and Kirk Cousins was playing at a high level. Goes down week 8, and then we have the rookie come in and just ball out, and everybody's like, oh shit, maybe this wasn't the stupidest pick in NFL history. I don't know, but they've made an effort to really improve that defense after the draft, which I didn't expect. So having a top tier talent at backup quarterback for a guy coming off of an Achilles injury, maybe not the worst move.
No, maybe not. And I mean, we mentioned all the skill position talent on that roster. Might be the best. It is right up there, just behind the Detroit Lions for the best offensive line in football.
Yeah,
And
it's the best offense that Kirk Cousins has ever had by far.
And with adding Matt Judon to a room of, for the sake of jokes, senior citizens already with David Onyemata and Grady Jarrett. So they're really old on that D line, but they're also really young. They took 2 defensive tackles high in this last draft, and they took a few defensive ends in last year's draft. Their head of player personnel, I believe, Ryan Pace, former Bears GM, a lot of bad things you can say about his tenure, but you know what? You cannot talk badly on that man's D-line evaluations. That's one thing that he shined at consistently, and they've taken a lot of D linemen in the last 2 drafts. I would expect some of them to start turning here in the right direction.
Yeah, and having that veteran leadership in the locker room definitely helps too, because I mean, we have like unlimited access to players nowadays, and like you hear veterans all the time talking about how they talk to rookies about how what they need to do to prepare and everything, and you compare that to some of the guys that retired 10 to 15 years ago, where veterans were like, nah, I'm not telling you shit, like this is my job. Like I feel like the NFL, the culture of locker rooms is greatly shifted in the past 20 years to where if you like some young guys in your locker room, you want some veterans in there, because they're making an effort, because they know, for one, they know that the younger players are going to be the ones voting on their future, because with the NFLPA, like I think that's what a lot of guys are starting to realize. Like they get out of the league and they're like, oh, we probably shouldn't just be making decisions for ourselves while we're in the league. Like let's look at some of the old heads that are out. And so I think they're just all getting a little bit more business savvy. So it's advantageous to like teach them everything you know, rather than this guy's trying to take my job.
I think the rookie pay scale has played into it a lot too, as well as more guarantees on contracts.
Yeah.
Because players just aren't as threatened by a guy who's making less than them, and there aren't a ton of starters in the league making less than most rookies on a rookie pay scale contract.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, but from just hearing the vibes from the league, it seems like veterans are much more willing to show the young bucks like how to go. And maybe it's a difference of like 3%. Maybe it's like 3 out of every 100 guys really take that next step, because I mean, that could be all the difference too. So
yeah. All right. So Jay, in the first round of the playoffs on the AFC side, what do you got?
we got to do the West. I have the Chiefs winning the division.
Yeah, my bad.
I have the Chiefs as the 4th seed. I have them winning 10 games. I think they could definitely win more than 10 games, but I think they're a lot of similarities, this Chiefs team, this run that they're on, to the Patriots, to where you could basically pencil them in for 10 wins. They might win 12, they might win 14, but they know all they have to do is make the playoffs and they'll be fine. So
Yeah.
I have the Chiefs at the 4th seed. They have a really tough schedule. A lot of they have some aging personnel, and I think they'll be fine winning 10, 11 games, being that 4th seed, hosting the Jets and Aaron Rodgers in the first round of the playoffs, and then the Bills hosting the Ravens. That'll be a fun game. And then I have the Bengals hosting the Dolphins with the Texans getting a bye.
Okay. Then, yeah, I've got the Chiefs in the West as well. I have it at my 3 seed. So for the playoffs, I have the Texans hosting the Dolphins for a 2-7 seed. Then I have the Bills hosting the Jets for a division playoff matchup for the 4-5. And for the 3-6, I have the Chiefs hosting the Ravens for another year.
Yeah.
Because it's annual at this point. Chiefs, Ravens.
Yeah.
We're going to
every
see
time.
it.
And I wouldn't
With the
be surprised
Bengals on the bye.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs three-peat, honestly. I love everything about that team. And they're built for the playoffs, so
Yeah. No,
and then
the Chiefs are my pick for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think that they will lose. They won't win another Super Bowl after the 3 for at least a year. Like they will stuff will start to fall apart at 3. But I think they win 3 in a row here
well,
because that's
nobody's
the
ever
landmark, right?
nobody's ever won 3 in a row.
Oh, has nobody?
No, it'll be the first ever.
Okay, yeah, I think that's the landmark for them. Like what
Patriots, if
the
Patriots didn't get beat by Nick Foles, they would have won 3 because they won, lost to the Eagles, and then won.
Okay.
And then Cowboys in the 90s did 2, missed 1, won 1. 49ers did the same thing. And then
Vince Lombardi's
Terry Brad
were the last to win 3 league titles in a row because that was pre-Super Bowl era.
Yeah, and then Terry Bradshaw, I think, won 2, lost 1, won 2, missed, didn't go, and then won 2 more. So
yeah, I think the Chiefs three-peat, and then I think everyone starts to get a little more complacent there, and like some comfort starts to float into the building, and maybe Andy Reid goes in the sunset at some point. Travis Kelce moves in with Taylor.
I predicted Caleb versus Patrick Mahomes in the playoff or in the Super Bowl 5 times. I think the first time happens this year. I think Chiefs beat the Bears.
I'm here for it. I mean, as long as it's not like a Dan Marino type thing, I'm here for it.
Yeah. And then in the West, I have the 49ers winning the West and being the 1 seed in the NFC. I think I have them winning 13 games. They're just so solid. I don't care who their quarterback is. I'm not going to get into the Brock Purdy discussion. I think he's fine. I don't think he's great. It'll be really interesting to see what happens whenever that contract is due, what they do in San Francisco. The Brandon Ayuk situation is a little troubling, but we're a week away from the season right now, and he's still on the roster. So I'm assuming they're going to get it done like they got it done with Debo, like they got it done with Kittle, like they always manage to get it done. The big thing about the Niners that nobody wants to talk about is that Trent Williams didn't look good last year in the playoffs.
Well, the big thing that is being talked about a little is that Trent Williams says he's not playing a game until they figure out his contract.
Oh, Trent Williams is mad about his contract too?
He's been holding out.
Oh, I figured.
And he just said this week that he will not play a game until they address his contract.
Shit. Well, hey, I'll be right.
Yeah. So I've got the 49ers winning the division as well at the 2 seed. I had them at 1 seed before all the Trent stuff, but I kicked them down. I gave them another loss or two, thinking through the Trent Williams stuff. And I mean, I do think there are some weaknesses on this team. This is not the defensive line of the past few years. It's really started to dwindle down. It's Nick Bosa and a bunch of guys, some good guys. Like Leonard Floyd is good, but Javon Hargrave is good, but they're not the game changers that I thought that DeForest Buckner way back when, that Eric Armstead were. And I think that the D line is not quite where it was and can't quite cover up as much as it did previously. Granted, secondary is still very talented. Linebacking core still talented. Devondre Campbell's going to be subbing in there for the linebacker who got hurt in the playoffs. But the O-line really does worry me. Trent Williams covers up so much on this offensive line. If Trent Williams is missing time, I do think it will significantly impact this offense. Even though I agree with Jay. I don't think Trent is the guy that he was a few years ago in the playoffs. I thought he was showing a lot more signs of his age than what we'd seen in previous years. I mean, maybe that's why he wants his contract addressed so badly. And maybe that's why the 49ers are so hesitant to do it. I don't know. That's pure speculation on my part. But all I know is in some of the playoff games that I watched the All-22 on, I did not feel like I was watching the dominant presence that I was used to from Trent Williams. Still a good player.
Yeah.
He was still good. But he wasn't the clear-cut best tackle in the NFL, I felt like, anymore.
No, and I mean, I feel like they're perfectly built for the regular season. Like, I think they won 13 games, and Kyle Shanahan just can't win it. Like, for some reason or another, he just can't do it. I think they're gonna cruise to the regular season, and they're gonna run into a red hot Chicago Bears team or a Lions team that should have beat them last year, that made some bad mistakes late in the game. But yeah, I think they're going to cruise to a 1 seed and get knocked out in the divisional round.
So Mike Shanahan, let's see. When did he win his first Super Bowl? That was
98.
Was it 98? I mean, that sounds right. Let's see.
John Elway's first Super Bowl?
Yeah, it was 98, so 1997 season.
Yeah.
So he was only a head coach for a few years at that point. For some reason, I thought that he'd been the head coach for a long time.
No, he won it. He won it pretty young.
Well, so fun fact: Mike Shanahan was the original Sean McVay. Like he was hired by the Raiders at such a young age. Like I want to say it was like 35 or 36 to be the head coach. He burned out after 2 years, and then was a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator for like 8 years before getting another head coaching job
in Denver.
Yeah, and that's when he got to Denver in 95. So like he'd been around, but yeah, he was still probably fairly young. I thought he'd been a head coach for like 8 years before he won one or something.
That 49ers team is so interesting because they've been able to retain top talent for so long now. But eventually the shoe's going to drop. They're going to maybe not. Maybe they just keep dominating the regular season, but eventually something's got to happen. I mean, I feel like they've just done everything so perfectly and not been able to win that you just don't get that lucky as an NFL franchise. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Kyle Shanahan is that good. He just can't win. But I feel like that front office and Kyle Shanahan have just done everything right for so long that eventually, like I said, I don't know, maybe not, but I feel like they're due for an implosion very soon. Not this year, though.
I have them at a 2 seed here, winning like 12 games, I think it is. But I have this gut feeling that something's like Brock Purdy's going to go down or something, and it's going to be really detrimental to this team.
Or Brock Purdy turns into Iowa State Brock Purdy, where He was like a dark horse for the Heisman. They should have probably won the Big 12 and made the playoff. And then he just shit the bed. That made him a 7th-round pick. Like,
See, I mean, I think we're at the point with Brock Purdy where we know he's going to execute this offense well enough for them to win 10 games no matter what. Like that's where I'm sitting with it.
but eventually you have to having CMC healthy, and the CMC debate is crazy because I mean he injured twice in Carolina. Other than that, he's been pretty healthy his entire career. Everybody, especially speaking in fantasy, is like he's due, and I'm like, nah, I don't know about that, but I feel like CMC covers up a lot on that offense to where when Debo was young, first, second year in the league, he was able to cover that up.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to have that kind of guy that can a bell cow type of player. And maybe it's their rookie that they just drafted out of Florida. I don't know. But if it's not CMC and Debo's not doing that role anymore.
I mean, I don't know
like,
though, because last year they lost Debo for like 5 games and they went on a bad losing streak.
Yeah, Debo's a big part of that offense.
He's really important to what they do. So, I mean, I don't know. I just have this feeling that they do not have the same depth that they've had in recent years. And this roster is just a lot thinner and a lot more at risk for something to happen.
And they're in a negotiation war with a top 10 receiver in the league at the moment.
And a top 10 offensive tackle in the league.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll win 13 games, like I said, but I think they're built to win a lot of regular season games, and I just don't feel like they're built to win playoff games.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
But,
I mean, I think they're built to win playoff games until the Super Bowl.
I mean, but if you win the most regular season games, you only have to win 2 games to make the Super Bowl, and that could be anybody. What was it 2 years ago where they played the Giants in the divisional round?
Yeah,
and then they played was it the Eagles with no quarterback? Or no, they had no quarterback.
Yeah, that was that they had no quarterback.
But yeah, anything can happen once you get there.
My 2 seed, so I have them winning games. I have Caleb Williams going to San Francisco in the wild card round, and I'm excited for it.
Oh, he'll dominate that. All right, so yeah, just to wrap it all up, I have the Texans as the 1, Bengals is the 2, Bills is the 3, Chiefs is the 4, Jets, Ravens, Dolphins at 5, 6, and 7, with the Dolphins playing the Bengals in the first round, the Ravens playing the Bills in the first round, and the Jets going to KC. And then in the NFC, I have Niners, Bears, Cowboys, Falcons, with the Bears hosting the Lions, the Cowboys hosting the Rams, and the Falcons Falcons hosting the Lions, Cowboys hosting the Rams, and the Bears hosting the Eagles.
All right. In the AFC, I've got the Bengals at 1 hosting the number 7 seed Dolphins. Or I'm sorry, the Bengals on the bye week, excuse me. And the Texans at the 2 hosting the 7 seed Dolphins. The Chiefs in the 3 spot hosting the 6 seed Baltimore Ravens. And then the Buffalo Bills in the 4 seed hosting their division rival New York Jets as the 5 seed. And then in the NFC, I have the Lions on the bye week in the 1 seed. At the 2 seed, 49ers hosting the 7 seed Chicago Bears. Then at the 3 seed, I have the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Green Bay Packers for the most hated game of the century that no one wants to see. And then
nobody.
Finally, I have the 4th seeded Atlanta Falcons hosting the 5th seeded Dallas Cowboys.
And then my favorite bet of the season is Bears over 10.5.
My favorite bet of the season is Washington Commanders' worst record in the NFL at plus 1,300.
All right. You want to get on some college football?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So Two futures I have on college football. I have Ohio State to win it all at plus 350. I just think they're the best team in the country, and don't love the quarterback situation there, but I think they can get it figured out. Georgia's right behind them, in my opinion. They're just neck and neck. But my kind of long shot, 14-1 odds, Ole Miss. I think that offense that they have there with Lane Kiffin, he can outscore anybody. I just don't know if the defense can be good enough. But you get in a shootout with a guy like that, every chance in the world, especially like once you get into a playoff format, win in advance. I like the odds there at 14-1.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I haven't looked too much at college football futures, so I really have to take your word for it on it more than anything.
Yeah.
But I'm here for it. I mean,
All
I'm
right.
here for Lane Kiffin all day.
So college football starts tomorrow. Today, if you're depending on when you're listening. What are we betting this weekend? I have 7 bets that I like.
Let's see let me pull up which games are tomorrow to make sure that I make those clear. All right, so I don't have any games tomorrow. Or I don't have any of Friday, so I guess all mine are Saturday games. Which I don't think is right, but maybe they're just not up on the site yet. But so first off, I have North Dakota State going to Colorado, take on Dion's boys. Colorado 9.5-point favorites. This North Dakota State offense is less dynamic than it's been in a few years. They really have
that game's tomorrow night. Thursday.
That is so. That's one of the Thursday ones. Okay. They've been losing so like North Dakota State, right? This powerhouse within. I guess what are they? FBS or D2? Like what? I don't even remember.
They are FBS.
So this FBS powerhouse, national titles, all that. South Dakota State's been stealing their thunder the last 2 years. South Dakota State won the national title the last 2 years. They've been stealing recruits from North Dakota State lately. This is not the North Dakota State you know. I throw that in with thinking, man, when is Colorado's sizzle gonna die? Right? Like, because Dion's all sizzle. You might say their sizzle died all off season, but I believe that Dion is gonna have his guys going.
You like them? You like Colorado covering?
I like Colorado minus 9.5. The way I see it, Colorado is going to come out hot this year, proving all the naysayers wrong, and then they're gonna sizzle out in a flame of glory around midseason when stuff starts to get hard and players start quitting
in October.
Yeah, like I don't think they're gonna have issues early in the year. I think stuff is gonna manifest around the middle of the season when it's you're playing through injuries. You don't like this coach yelling at you this way, and like all the personalities are starting to really clash, and
they're really top heavy on talent, which usually means at the beginning of the year they're going to be fantastic.
Yeah. So Colorado minus 9.5 against an FBS opponent who I think it's overrated in the national media right now. I like it.
That too. I do not believe I have any. Let me double check, see if I have any Thursday games. If I were to pick a Thursday game, let's just say this: the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Ooh, Golden Gophers
at home +2 versus UNC. I do not love this UNC team at all. Matt Brown has not really shown an ability to build a roster there. He had Drake May, he had Sam Howell, and could you just really never put it together. They don't have the premier quarterback that they've had in the past 5 years. That kind of really elevated them above everything else. And I think North Carolina going up to the Midwest to play Minnesota on the road, Minnesota catching points at home. Give me Minnesota in that spot. I mean, I think they're going to be tougher. I think they're going to be bigger. I think they're going to be stronger. The Midwest boys versus those ACC boys. I don't really know how I feel about that North Carolina blue being in Minnesota. So yeah, you're giving me Minnesota with points at home versus a North Carolina team that has been very underwhelming, and now they don't have a star quarterback to open the season. I'll take Minnesota at home in that game to have a Thursday game.
I like it. I'm gonna ride that with you because I do not know what North Carolina has added this offseason, but I do know from watching a lot of tape on Drake May just how much he was covering up in that offense and how much he was carrying that team
Sam Howell
for
did the same
points.
thing. Sam Howell, like when they won 9 games with Sam Howell, and it's like if he wasn't on this team, they would have won 4. Like
Yeah. Like so I mean, and who knows? Maybe they got another Sam Howell. I don't know. I
they
haven't
got a
researched it,
transfer. I can't remember who it was. I can probably look it up.
but I'm gonna ride that with you just because I agree. I don't think replacing Drake May is easy. And this was a team that struggled a lot last year with Drake May putting up a ton of points.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm not getting anything, so I don't think they got a transfer. Oh yeah, it's Max Johnson, the guy who was at LSU, Brad Johnson's son. He was at LSU. He was terrible. He went to A&M. He was terrible, and now he is the quarterback at UNC. Yeah, that makes me like it even more. Max Johnson, much better athlete than me. I mean, I don't want. Don't get me wrong.
don't
I'll
sell
never
yourself
shit.
short.
Oh, I'll never shit on that. I'll never shit on athletes, but yeah, if you're telling me Max Johnson's your starting quarterback, I'll take. I love Minnesota in that spot. All right, moving on to Friday. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like we got 6 games. I don't think you have any of these,
I've got
but
I've got South Dakota State and Oklahoma State or Miami, Florida. Those are the only two that I think might be Friday.
okay. So I have one game on Friday, and I actually had this before the podcast. FAU, I think, is one of the better FBS schools in the country this year. They have some really nice talent at wide receiver and quarterback, and they're going on the road to Michigan State, catching 14 points. I don't think Michigan State's very good at all. I'm not saying FAU is going to go into Michigan State and win that game, but you give me a talented FBS team catching 14 points, I think they can go in there and lose by 9 every day of the week. So I'm taking
Yeah.
FAU in that spot. 6 o'clock game, Friday afternoon. And then every other game. Oh, TCU Stanford. Do you have that game?
I do not just because I know nothing about it. I thought about betting it and then I was like, you know what? I don't know anything. I'm just gonna stay away.
Yeah, so TCU going to Stanford. I don't have this game. I don't know how I feel about TCU this season. Stanford is supposed to not be very good at all. TCU is a road favorite at 10.5. And you give me a home dog of a Division I program like Stanford, I might take Stanford in that spot just because they're catching double digits at home versus a TCU team that I don't think TCU is going to be very good. But I'm not
Speaking of
taking that.
road dog,
But I'm
full
just saying
disclosure.
if you're sitting there on a Friday looking
Mhm.
for a bet, you got 6 games. Give me the home dog there. Give me the double digit home dog Stanford in that spot.
Are you sprinkling Minnesota money line too?
Oh yeah. At 3 points,
I just did, so that's why I'm asking.
I sprinkle every underdog less than 5 points.
Yeah, agreed.
Whenever I'm taking an underdog. All right, and then we get to Saturday. We have the premier matchup of the weekend. We have Abilene Christian University going to Texas. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we do.
That is happening, but we have one of the biggest week 1 matchups I would say in a long time with Clemson going to Georgia. I feel like everybody's just riding Clemson off right now. They didn't take any transfer portals. They're building the old school way, but they didn't lose anybody to the transfer portal either. Dabo's done a really good job of roster management, keeping his team together. They have the third-year kid out of Texas whose name is
Cade Klubnik.
Cade Klubnik is absolutely correct. Going to Georgia with Carson Beck at quarterback. A lot of people think he might win the Heisman this year, strictly based on the fact that he's going to be a really good quarterback on the best team in the nation. But Clemson is getting, let's see, the line changed when we started. 14.5. I have Clemson at 13.5. I love Clemson in this spot. I think Georgia will probably win, but I think this Clemson team is way, way, way too talented to be catching that many points. I think it's going to be a great game. I wouldn't be surprised if Clemson wins outright, but you're giving me a Dabo Swinney coach Clemson team with that much talent on the team catching 14, 15 points. Give me Clemson all day, every day in that spot. Dabo's still one of the best coaches in the country. They haven't been great the past 2 years. Their quarterback situation hasn't been great. Maybe year 3 of Cade Klubnik is the answer for them. But if you would have said 4 years, 5 years ago, give me Dabo Swinney with double-digit points, everybody in the nation would take it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had a lean at 13.5. If FanDuel is still showing 13.5, so I'm still just
I'm looking on
leaning.
ESPN. I'm looking on ESPN bets, which
So it
has it
might, maybe
14.5.
tomorrow it'll go, but if I catch it at 14.5, I'm taking Clemson plus 14.5. Like, when, I guess I'd put it this way. I was not very impressed by Nazir Stackhouse's tape last year. And when I heard someone trying to sell me on Georgia for this game, Nazir Stackhouse was one of the first players they mentioned, which makes me question why. And
Yeah,
also, Clemson has this defensive tackle who is basically a Mack truck and just destroys people. Like, you're
I
talking
mean,
about
they've
Nazir
had
Stackhouse, not this Clemson kid who is destroying people. Like, that's
Clemson's getting forgotten about because they don't play the transfer portal, but nobody's talking about the fact that they have a top 5 recruiting class every single year, and they're not losing anybody to the transfer portal either.
yeah. At Clemson at 14.5, that feels easy to me. Like,
Yeah. And then my next bet, let me make sure. I have Penn State going to West Virginia. West Virginia is at home catching 8 points. I love Neil Brown, this West Virginia head coach. I think they're going to be dogs this year. I like this Penn State team, but 8 points at home, season opener, first year of a 12-team playoff. I think this West Virginia team is going to be up. They're going to be rowdy. That fan base is going to be going nuts, hosting a top 10 opponent week 1, catching 8 points. I love West Virginia catching 8 here.
yeah, I mean, I was reading something about, it was basically just saying, like, the CBS Sports mathematical model says Penn State -8 is the best play of the weekend, and I couldn't do it. I was just like, you're in West
Anytime
Virginia.
anytime somebody's telling you it's the best play of the weekend when it's on a national network,
Yeah,
fade it. Fade
yeah.
it.
Well, like, I was sitting there going, like, man, I don't like that West Virginia defense was full of dogs last year, man. Like, they gave up a lot of points, but you felt those dudes when they hit you. Like, there
Yeah.
was no question. They were dogs out there.
Yeah. No, yeah, I like West Virginia catching 8 there. I don't know if they win the game, but definitely like them.
All right, so I'll throw in one of mine here. So I got South Dakota State against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's only 9.5-point favorites here against again an FBS team who is really offensive line centric on offense. Just lost 2 of their starting offensive linemen to the NFL this past year. Big hit for an FBS team to lose 2 NFL talents in 1 year. 9.5-point favorites. OK State's returning 20 starters. You're on mute, but
And the top running back in the country, according to some people.
Yeah, I think maybe this is a rat. I don't know. Oklahoma State has definitely blown some games and some spreads historically, but I just see a huge talent differential and a huge experience differential here that makes 9.5 an easy play.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. My next one I have is Notre Dame going on the road to Texas A&M. I feel like Notre Dame's getting pretty disrespected this year. I mean, I think they're going to make the playoff. I think they're a top 12 team, and I don't have a lot of faith in this Texas A&M team. I mean, I think you went and hired. Why can I not remember names tonight? The guy out of Kentucky, Bob Stoops' brother, Mike. You went and hired Mike Stoops from Kentucky, and your fan base rioted. And then you were praising all 15 gods that everyone worships when you went and got Mike Elko from Duke, who was your defensive coordinator once upon a time when your defense was terrible under Mike Elko. And Mike Elko was fairly successful at Duke, and everybody just lauded the hire. It was like the greatest thing ever. You have the most outrageous fan base that you're not good. You've never been good. Nobody listening to this has ever seen a good A&M season outside of the Johnny years. You're a middle of the road program with too much money. You're not good. Notre Dame historically gets overrated. Notre Dame's going to go into Kyle Field and beat the fuck out of you. I'm taking Notre Dame +3 in that game.
Who's Notre Dame's quarterback?
The kid out of Duke who was Mike Elko's quarterback last year.
Interesting.
What is his name?
Riley Leonard.
You knew that? Riley
Leonard. I was trying to play that. Like
my names are escaping me tonight.
Because don't you think he might have some information, some knowledge
on how Mike Elko likes to run things, on maybe what he prefers? We're also talking about Riley Leonard.
More Mike Elko, how to get Riley Leonard uncomfortable.
Oh, I was thinking of Riley Leonard as a 4.0 athlete who's super smart, who was with a coach for 4 years that knows exactly what he's going to want to do in certain situations that he can expose with a very talented team around him. But I guess it goes both ways.
Yeah, it can definitely go either way from my standpoint too. Like that, it can be tough to, sometimes you weigh that stuff too much and you end up not thinking about the other side. So like, yeah, it's probably a wash at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no team that pisses me off more than Texas A&M. You're a premier program in Texas, and I cheer for Texas over everything. And it's just embarrassing when your two premier programs, Texas and Texas A&M, just embarrass the state consistently. I hate it, and it just pisses me off.
They went to a natty.
Moving on.
All right, so my next play here, I got the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers going down to the Tide, down to Alabama, down to Tuscaloosa, 31.5 point dogs. You know what Western Kentucky can do, though? They can score points. Their new QB, JT Finley, he can sling.
You taking the over?
No, I'm not actually. I'm taking Western Kentucky plus 31.5 with Western Kentucky is facing a secondary that just lost 2 starters and Nick Saban in one offseason. They're going to be able to score points.
And Jalen Milroe is not a great quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know what to think of this. Like, I don't know what this Bama offense is going to look like under what's his name, the guy from Washington, because
Kellen DeBoer.
It's so different than what they ran than what Bama ran previously. it's going to be such a different thing. I don't know what to expect here, but I feel like Western Kentucky can cover 31.5. I don't know if Bama is going to score a ton, but
That Bama defense is going to be really, really good. Is the only.
are they?
So yeah. So the thing about Alabama is, I think as a team, if you just put them in a vacuum, I think they're a 9-10 win team. But the fan base has been so coddled and spoiled that Kellen DeBoer has been great everywhere he's ever been. He's an older coach. I think he took where was he before he was somewhere before Washington. Great
Yeah,
success.
he was. I
Great
don't remember
success at
where though.
great success at Washington. But I could see them dropping a couple of games early in the season and that fan base just getting hostile to the point where, like, I don't care who you are, that's hard to handle. And I think that's going to be their downfall. But as far as talent goes and as far as coaching goes, I think they'll be fine. So Alabama's so hard for me to judge. I have to see week 1 first. 31.5, a lot of points, but that
Yeah.
defense is going to be strong.
Is it?
So
What? I mean, so I Nick Saban being the secondary savant he is, that has to matter when you just lost both your starting corners. Like to me, I'm not saying they won't be strong, but I just feel like that has to matter.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I'm I'm just saying Alabama is a team I'm avoiding until I see about 3 or 4 weeks because I have
Okay.
no idea what that team's going to look like. But
Okay.
I get
And
what you're saying.
we got a question from 1777 memorabilia. Chiefs versus who in the Super Bowl?
Bears.
Chiefs Bears. I love it. Man, I'm probably thinking it's going to be a weird one. I'm not buying into the Lions getting to the Super Bowl. I'm not buying into the 49ers, really. I think that they have some blemishes there, but
Rams would be a good pick.
I like the Rams in that idea, but I didn't have them making the playoffs. I had them like just barely missing.
I
And
got
I
the
just don't
Rams in
think
the
their
playoffs.
defense will be there. I mean, it's probably screw it.
Cowboys.
Falcons. Let's go.
Yeah. Kirk
It's
Cousins.
going to be a weird year of the NFC. It's going to be
Who's
a
the
weird year.
who's the quarterback in that Super Bowl game?
Kirk Cousins till he ruptures his Achilles for a second time in the third quarter, and Michael
In the
Penix has to
third
come in.
quarter?
Heard
Ooh,
it here
okay.
first.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right. All right. Let's look at some more college football here. All right. Florida State. Florida State. You bitched all off season. You complained to the masses, and I think you got screwed. In a 14 playoff, if you go undefeated, regardless of circumstance, I agree with you. Probably should have been in the playoff. And then you lay down in your bowl game. I understand it's 2023, 2024. Bowl games don't matter. You get beat by 60 by Georgia. I don't care how much you lay down. You don't get beat by that much. And then you go out to
Dublin,
Dublin, Ireland,
land of Guinness.
and you get your ass handed to you by Georgia Tech. And when we were going into this season, it was like DJ Ungalele, could be a
How
good
do
to
you spell
serviceable
that?
quarterback. A lot of U's, a lot of I's, a lot of L's, a lot of E's. You go into the season and you're like, as long as this guy's not terrible. We'll be fine. We have one of the best offensive lines in the country. We have one of the best defensive lines in the country. We're built in the trenches. We have DBs. We have running backs. We have wide receivers. You get your ass handed to you in the trenches by Georgia Tech. And I'm not high on Georgia Tech. I thought Georgia Tech could absolutely cover that game, but not in the way that I thought that they would cover in that game. And now you have a week 2 game versus a Boston College team who has a quarterback much more athletic than Haynes King coming into Florida State, and that fan base, you'll probably be hype at first, but how many first downs is that quarterback from Boston College going to have to get before that stadium dies? Get 16 and a half points for a quarterback that's probably going to about to put up 220 on you on the ground? Give me Boston College plus 16 and a half going to Florida State. They got destroyed in the trenches. They're probably going to have three defensive linemen picked in the top 50. And watching that game, all three of those guys were playing like they're going to be picked in the top 50, and they weren't playing cohesively. Like they were all playing me ball, which makes a lot more sense if you break down the film. But it's like I felt like none of them were sticking to their assignments. They were all trying to create highlight plays, and Georgia Tech just played good, solid football, ran it down your throat, humiliated you. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Florida State starts out 0-2, but Boston College at 16.5 points with a much better quarterback than Haynes King running the ball, probably a better passer of the ball too than Haynes King, who can't throw the ball. Yeah, that's one of my favorite plays of the weekend. Boston College Monday night against Florida State.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got this on my bet slip as well, and I mean, I was thinking Georgia Tech would cover that game just because Florida State lost like 8 guys to the NFL draft last year, if not more
Yeah.
than that. And it
I
was
thought they would cover.
new team.
I just didn't think they would cover the way they covered.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you think they win, right? Like,
yeah. No, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, like their offense is going to be explosive. They're running their new offense or second year in that offense, and I thought Florida State would score a lot of points, and I thought Georgia Tech would keep it close. Georgia Tech dominated.
So the main reason I like BC this week, even aside, like say I hadn't watched that game at all, so maybe not the main reason, but another reason is I'm looking at flights right now, right? I'm researching, in premium economy to fly from Dublin to Tallahassee. It's a 15-hour trip. That's 15 hours of traveling that these dudes had to do after losing a game where they were heavily favored. I think they're jet lagged. I think they're underprepared. They might have been undermotivated, like not as motivated as they typically would following a big loss because, like,
especially in this era of college football,
16 hours of travel.
Yeah, they do play Monday.
They're playing the next week.
Yeah,
Give me BC plus 16 and a half. That just seems like a logic play to me.
They do play Monday, but yeah, I agree 100%. Then the last play I have is the standalone Sunday game, the LSU USC game. I have the over in that game 64. I know USC went out and got a new defense coordinator. I still think they're going to score a lot of points. They're going to give up a lot of points. I think this can be a fantastic game. It's being played in Las Vegas. So I have over 64 in that game, and I have USC covering +4. So if I were to rank Lincoln Riley's quarterbacks, I would say Caleb Williams is the best quarterback he's ever had, on top, obviously, over Kyler Baker, Jalen Hurts. And this quarterback, I cannot remember. I'm terrible with names tonight, but he
Morgan
might be
Moss,
the more.
Morgan
Yeah,
Moses,
Morgan Moses. I
not
think he
Morgan
might be
Moss.
I think he might be the second best quarterback that Lincoln Riley has ever had. I think this USC team is being very, very overlooked offensively, and everybody just assumes their defense is going to suck. They finally got rid of their defensive coordinator, who was why Lincoln Riley took his defensive coordinator from OU to USC. Never made any sense. Like the dude has to
Blackmail,
have what?
blackmail.
Yeah, the dude had to have something on him, and like finally fired the guy. Um, so finally have a new defense there in a Lincoln Riley system. So we have no idea what that's going to look like, but we're looking at a total of 64. So I mean, a 35-32 game easily clears it. And yeah, give me USC. I mean, not the home team, but Las Vegas from LA is what 4 hour drive, 45-minute flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me USC +4 there in that spot. I love this spot for them, and I just don't think LSU's gonna be a great team. I think they can sneak their way into the playoffs if they win this game. I think their schedule lines up for it because of how propped up the SEC gets in rankings. But if LSU loses this game, they're out of it. But year 3 of Brian Kelly historically has been his best year everywhere he's been, whether it was Cincinnati, whether it was Notre Dame, where was he at before that? Western Kentucky, I can't remember.
Yeah, Western Kentucky,
But
I think, or Western Michigan. I
year
don't
3
remember.
of Brian Kelly has been his best year everywhere he's ever been. So maybe I'm a fool for taking USC +4, but I I think this offense at USC is gonna be fantastic under Lincoln Riley, and their defense can't get worse. So give me the over, give me USC. Hopefully hit both. Worst case scenario, hit one of the two.
Well, then we're fools together because I got USC +4.5 on this. Um, One thing you mentioned, new D coordinator in USC. It's the guy from UCLA the last few years. UCLA ran one of the most interesting defenses in college football. I thought like they had talent in Laiatu Latu, but they had some other pass rushers who were less heralded, guys who didn't get drafted last year, that they were able to turn into some really quality pass rushers, get a lot of sacks, a lot of pressures, because their scheme was so well done, so interesting, such a creative scheme to generate pressure, which will be interesting to watch against the offensive tackle duo for LSU, who both look like first rounders, and a very immobile quarterback in Nussmeier for LSU. Um, I think both these teams are going to be able to get after the passer some. A lot in my gut tells me not to make this bet just because of how bad USC was last year, aside from Caleb Williams. But the travel aspect is playing big here too for me. LSU is going across the country. USC is practically at home.
Yeah, no, I love that. And then is there anything you didn't take? Oh,
Oh,
one
I've
more
got one more
future.
bet.
Okay, I have one more future too that I I I forgot to take that I absolutely.
Yeah, I've got Western Michigan going to Wisconsin. Totals at 56.5. I know Wisconsin had the new head coach last year with a fun, slick offense and everything. This is still Wisconsin against Western Michigan. This screams a like 26 to like 5 game to me or something. Like 56.5. And maybe I'm off base on that. I don't know. You're on mute, Jay. But I
Their
don't know.
offense should be
I'm not going
good.
to sit here and say I know a lot about Western Michigan, but Wisconsin's usually got a pretty solid defense.
Yeah, yeah, they Wisconsin should be pretty good offensively, but that's a lot of points. So I don't hate that at all. I might hop on that for you with you. My last one that I have here is a future, and it's the Tennessee Volunteers at 65-1 to win the national championship. They have the best player in the country at uh linebacker and whatever you want to. I don't even. He just He's just a ball player, James
Edge
Pierce.
rusher. He's an edge rusher.
Edge rusher, James Pierce. He's absolutely fantastic. And then they have a quarterback whose name I can't pronounce. Or I can if I look it up. But anyway, one of the biggest recruits in a long time, right up there with Caleb Williams as far as recruiting skill goes. He was probably the first big name college or recruit that NIL really
Wait,
impacted
you're
because he
talking
took it.
about Nico Iyama Leava?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Liama Ayava. But yeah, he was like the first big recruit that took a bag. I think he got like $2 million. Sat last season behind the guy that's currently at New England. God, I'm so bad with names tonight. But yeah, Nico's gonna be a beast. James Pierce is a beast, and when you have the best player in the country on your defense, and you have a quarterback that can hopefully sling the ball all over the field and put up points at 65-1, I'll hammer that home all day. I mean, you could lose 2 games, and if you're looking at it from an NFL standpoint, look at the New York Giants whenever they won their Super Bowls. They dominated on the defensive line and they played well at quarterback. That kind of seems to me what this Tennessee team can do. Just get in, and then when it's a one and done playoff system with 12 teams, I absolutely think at 65-1 they're a great bet because you look at some of the people above them or in their range, like Florida State is still 65-1. I don't understand how that. They have the same odds as Florida State. Washington's up there. Missouri lost so much talent. Probably got lucky to win 9 games last year. They're probably a 7 to 8 win team last year, if we're all being honest. Texas A&M, Utah, Michigan, like, yeah, give me Tennessee over all those teams. So yeah, I think value there, just sprinkle a little bit on to win the national championship is fantastic. And then if your book allows you to, I don't know what their playoff odds are, but I mean, if they're plus money to make playoffs, I kind of like it. But yeah, 65-1 to win the national championship with the talent they have, I absolutely love.
Ride or die. Let's do it. I'm in.
Felt like 98. Is that what they say there?
Wait, what was it?
Feeling like 98. I think that's what Tennessee fans say. Or feeling like 99. It was whenever Peyton Manning was there.
If that's what they say, I'm saying it because I'll put a few shekels on it.
Yeah. All right. And then do you have any other games that you were leaning or
There were 2 other games I had slight leans on. Let's see here. So I already deleted them from my sheet. It was Miami to cover against Florida.
Oh, I like Florida in that game actually.
Yeah, I was leaning it just because I think Cam Ward needs to come out with a bang if he wants a shot at the Heisman, but like I'm not really actually betting it. And then the other one was the West Kentucky Alabama over, but I feel like that game could be 30-10. So like I was like, I like the spread better. And then there's one more. I can't remember what the last lean I had was. I already cleared it off my sheet.
Oh, you good. I'm so excited for college football this weekend. It starts tomorrow, or tonight if you're listening to this. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So probably the most interested I've been in college in a while. Like I pay attention to it usually, but like I save football for Sundays more often than not. Like college football is more social for me, whereas NFL is like a religion.
Yeah.
So it's like this year, I'm a little more excited than I haven't been in the past for college.
No, it should be fantastic. And Texas Tech's making the playoffs. Probably winning the Big 12. I'll probably lay a few shekels on Texas Tech to win the Big 12, but that's a personal play. So ride it if you want.
Ride it if you want.
All right, well, that'll be it for us. We'll see y'all next week. We have NFL next week and a lot of good college. We got everything. We'll try to get some guests this season too. Yeah. Adios.
All right.
That's how we've won all year, team, right? Hey, you held them to 20 points, man. Yes, sir. You gave us a chance at the end. I got 3 words for you. You like that? Yeah!